Hey, hello there, everybody. This is your salon doctor here with another message, particularly getting ready for peak season 2024. If you're not planning right now what you're going to do in 2024, you're going to lose out. And there's just a few areas, three as a matter of fact, that are probably the most important for 2024. And then, of course, pricing and what you're going to do with your EFTs, your membership model is incredibly important. We want to sell the devil out of memberships in 2024 to get you through third quarter. Also, HR is a huge problem. And then, of course, marketing. But let me just kind of go to HR here today. Let's talk about um, what I think is the biggest issue, and that is as we go into peak season, is how do we know that we're going to avoid a peak season 24, the 2024 disaster? And what do I mean by disaster? I mean having key people leave you, and you don't want that. So, what disaster could you face? This is why we want to talk to you. I want to talk to you today about getting some insurance against that disaster. So, what disaster could you face? Well, let's assume that you have a complete staff now, or that you'll have one by mid-November. Okay, so we're coming up to mid-November here pretty quick here. So people think, well, we have a complete staff now, and I don't have to worry about having enough people to take care of my customers come peak season. Now, if you define complete as having just enough with no bench strength, that is the toughest on single salon or small operators. Bench strength is the key point that I want to make here. It is one of the greatest weaknesses that I see among so many retailers is they don't do a good job on developing their talent. They do a great job on many other things. They're tough entrepreneurs. They would do a lot of laudable things that makes them successful. Usually HR is the last thing that they get to. So if you define complete staff as having just enough, but you don't have any bench strength, that becomes a problem because all you have to do is have one person or two people, key people that say, well, I want to go do this or I want to go do that. I don't want to work in the salon anymore. I'd rather be a barista. This stuff happens all the time. And you know, if you're running a salon or you're running several salons, that you know that kind of thing happens. People that you thought you could depend on. Now, maybe there are people you can depend on. We'll get to that in just a second here. But it is toughest on the single salon owner or somebody with two or three salons. If you have a chain of 30 salons, you can, move people around maybe to cover up issues that you've got in a single salon. But if you have a single salon and you have four employees and one of your key employees leaves in February or March or whatever, that causes a big problem. So that's what I want to talk to you today about, how you can um, avoid that disaster that could come mid peak 2024. So, and I'm bringing this up because I've seen this so many times. People will tell me at this time of the year, "Oh, we're all ready." Well, okay. So if you need four people to cover your salon, how many people do you have now on your roster? Well, we've got four, and sometimes even five in that case isn't going to do it because you just don't know. We're in we're in a scary time with HR, regardless of what industry you're in, and in our industry particularly, we're in a scary time because now you've got young folks that think they should be making what they're making in California. Now just passed a law that the minimum wage is going to be $20 an hour, and every state has raised their minimum wage, and so you've got people that are working for you right now that are maybe thinking, gee, if I want to make more money, maybe I've got to go someplace else. Well, it could happen. So let's talk about um, imagine mid-March 2024 and one or two of your complete staff leaves. And your disaster could cost you in several ways. So no one to cover shifts. Oh boy. I've had many owner that owns a single salon call me and want our help and has said, well, now I'm covering my shifts myself. It's great to work in your business, but it's even better to work on your business. If you're not working so many shifts, you could be working more on maybe motivating the people that are working the shifts. You could be working on your marketing. You could be working on your social. You're building your social audience. So working on shifts is great for you to see what's going on with your customers up front, but it doesn't give you the time to step back and do things for your business in general. Poor customer service by panic hiring. What we do is when that key person leaves, and let's say they leave in March. All of a sudden now you're hiring anybody that's got a heartbeat. Of course, there's loss of peak sales. Peak sales, we need every dollar we can get January through June. Typically, that's about 65% of the year's business. But peak could be 75% of your business, meaning that the business produced by peak could take you through third quarter. I have talked to, I can't tell you how many people, clients and non-clients, that have said this has been 2023 has been kind of a slow year. And I'm going to guess across the board, we're probably among my client base, maybe 2 to 3% over last year. I have a couple that are 25% over, but that's changing prices and doing some things that has peaked up their sales. But loss of peak sales is a killer. That's a real killer, and that's what you don't want because that could really, really hurt your business. So then you got staff morale issues when all of a sudden people are have to cover other people's shifts. That can run into some real problems with saying, well, why do I have to do this? And, I'm kind of stuck holding the bag here. It's a big morale problem among the owners themselves. Okay, so here's a plan on retaining staff. This is what I want you to consider. I talked to all of my clients about this. Retaining staff through peak 2024. How do we do that? Here's a thought for you. And we've done this several times and it works. It's called a retention bonus. And define what is a retention bonus? A retention bonus, or call it a peak season bonus, they're set up in the fourth quarter now, offering a bonus to staff that stays actively employed through June of 2024. Now, actively employed means that there's certain performance parameters that must be accomplished. So I'm not asking you to give somebody a bunch of money just because they're still working there in June. There's parameters that you have to consider, certain goals that you want in terms of their sales that they have to understand and they have to agree to. So this is not a given. The retention bonus is not a giveaway. It is something that will hold on to the person. And let's get into some of that too. So they're cheap cost compared to losing critical staff in the middle of the peak season. It's insurance. You buy insurance on everything else on your business. I mean, we have insurance, we're swimming in it all the time. So then you got to say, how much? So what if you paid $750 to $1,000 to be paid at the end of June 2024 to those employees that are really your best employees, the ones that you want to say that will stay with you? So, and is this cheap? Let's review some numbers. Okay, assume a part-timer working 20 hours a week, November 23rd through June 2024, or 32 weeks times, let's say 20 hours, or 640 hours, your bonus costs you $1.56 more per hour than their normal payroll. So when I said telling somebody you'll give them $750 or $1,000, there's a range there, of course. At the end of June, if they stay with you and those performance criteria are achieved, it's cheap money. And as the example I'm showing you, if it costs you to keep a key employee through June, so you don't have to worry about a peak season disaster, $1.56 more per hour. Now, again, the parameters we're talking about are not exactly what they did this year and say a Lotion average or an EFT close rate or Lotion plus services average, whatever. You work out that parameter with them so they know that, okay, I'm going to be doing 10% or 15% more than what I did last year on my sales average. What you got to get the employee to agree with you that this is a doable goal. And once they do that, then they stay with you because they want to get that bonus at the end of the rainbow here. Okay, so I'll give you, this is what I'm saying to this person, I'll give you an extra $1,000 at the end of June for your working hard through the peak season. So now your question is, what do they have to do for that $1,000? Well, they get it. What's going to be another $1.56 an hour, a minimum number of call-offs. You have to establish that they only call off X amount of times, and on their schedule, if 6 months, I don't. whatever you think is fair and what you've experienced from your employees. If you've experienced very low numbers of call offs, then maybe they can't call off more than 3 or 4 times in that 6 months. And we have to be fair about this because things do come up in their personal life and it's not just all tanning. Um, and then what we'd like to see is them volunteering for shift openings. Now, what I'm coming up to here is that we should have parameters for giving evaluations. I like to see people get an evaluation at the end of the off season, which we're coming up to here pretty soon. Going to be doing a bunch of those, and then an evaluation at the end of the peak season. But look at what we're putting up here. This is stuff that's perfect for you to give an evaluation. And I'll give you the secret in HR. Since I've been managing people for 55 years in retail, whatever, if you want people to understand what you're saying on their evaluation, then you got to tell them specifics. I'm starting to give you some specifics here. You tell them going into this peak season bonus you're to give them at the end. Here are some of the parameters. One is this minimal number of call-offs. The fact that they're volunteering for shift openings. You're going to know that. This is the kind of stuff you can talk about during the evaluation. An established per tan selling average, such as, okay, $2.50 per tan for lotions and products. Now, our system with our salons, we ran about 275 in 2022. Will be about that this year. There's not a great increase in that this year. Inflation, the fear of inflation hasn't helped us. But anyway, so here I think is a very fair dollar amount, $2.50. When you've got employees that are doing half of that, they're not selling. Those are not sales transaction averages. Those are what the customers ask for. But 250, if you compare it to what you're getting right now out of your employees, I would guess that most people that are looking at this broadcast will say, yeah, that's pretty good compared to what I'm getting. All right, then 1350 per tan average for lotions plus services. Now, if we really go after memberships, and what you're going to include in those services, and that services average is, of course, is what your original sign up, what they originally sign up on an EFT, the first payment, whether it's a payment, whether you do it by a proactive for the month before and then the next month and whatever, that's the figure that goes into that tan average. 1350 it's a decent average. It's not a great average. We have people much higher than that. But if you establish that, you're going to get at least a guarantee out of your people. Because if you compare it to what they're doing right now, I'm going to guess that they're below that. Maybe if not, that's great. Okay, also no disciplinary issues, on only positive attitudes. Look at the stuff I'm outlining for you. Look at the stuff I've given you so far, these 6 bullet points. These are great for you to do an evaluation. By the way, if you want an evaluation form, we call it the quick appraisal guide, just let me know and I will send it to you. Okay, also, what you get for your $1,000 at the end of 6 months is a higher employee morale with a stabilized team. And everybody needs that. You don't need to have these great fluctuations in the middle of peak season, whatever. Also, you finally get an understanding that a bonus is paid as a result of peak season employee review. What I'm putting out here for you is a merit-based system, not a system that says, I'm going to give you another $1 an hour. Well, I'm going to give you $1 an hour more because I paid somebody else $1 an hour more. In other words, you've got a gun to your head. We have to stop giving people this magnanimous presentation of their owners. Here's another $1 an hour. Always connect your pay increases to merit. Here's a whole list of merit, guys, and you can add them, your own additional ones that you want on there. Okay, so why do you gain? What do you gain by retention bonuses? Consistent job attendance, creating a focus on selling based on goals, provides a 6-month measure of performance, sets up an easier way to give performance evaluations, higher sales compared to last year, higher morale, less owner manager chaos. Oh man, everything can be running smooth, but you get people problems. And of course, ever since COVID and with inflation and what's going on, HR is probably the biggest single issue that we have in this business, which could take care of your next biggest single issue, and that is selling more memberships. And of course, With this, you get a higher level of excellent customer service. And that's what you need. You need that for returns. Okay, so peak 2024. You got to get your staffing, your EFT sales, and marketing plans ready for peak 2024 now. Most of my clients, we're working on that right now. We're going to be ready with all of this. But I got to tell you, I've been working in this business for 32 years. And I see a lot of people that are not ready for it. People that first come to me, they haven't even thought about, well, okay, peak season doesn't start until at the end of January, first part of February. I've still got some time. You can't do that. Holidays are coming up. I hope that you're going to have a Black Friday sale, a Black Friday week sale, not on Black Friday itself, but for the week. It's a big way to generate cash. And I've got another webinar coming out on that. Okay, so I've worked with more than 600 indoor tanning companies from 1 to 200 locations, and you can see my other kudos I want to give myself there. But the important thing is up in yellow here, my cursor. Sign up for your free 1-hour consulting session now at www.johnfarr.com. Sign up for that free consultation, and let's get you ready for the peak season. We'll talk about retention bonuses. We're going to talk about a whole lot more in that 1 hour. Cost you zip. So I hope that you get something out of this, and I hope to hear from you. So let's get ready. Peak's coming up.